In January 1959, 9 college students set off on a hiking trip into the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They were young, strong, and experienced in survival, but none of them came back alive. Weeks later, search teams found their frozen bodies, and what they discovered was so disturbing that even today, no one knows the truth about what happened that night. The expedition was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student. The plan? A 16-day trek through the snowy mountains. They kept detailed records of their journey, letters, diaries, and photographs. Everything seemed normal until their final entry on January 31st. After that, complete silence. Days passed, then weeks. No one heard from them, and when rescuers finally found their campsite, they knew something was horribly wrong. On February 26th, search teams found the hikers' tent. It was still standing, but it had been ripped open from the inside. Their boots, jackets, and supplies were left behind, as if they had run out half-dressed in the freezing cold. Why would experienced hikers do that? What were they running from? A few meters away, rescuers found 2 bodies near the edge of the forest. The 2 men were barefoot, wearing only underwear, their faces frozen in expressions of pure terror. Nearby, a small campfire had been built, but it was barely enough to keep anyone warm. It looked like they had tried to survive, but failed. But that was just the beginning. Rescuers followed a trail of footprints leading deeper into the snow. That's when they found 3 more bodies. They were lying in the snow, positioned as if they had tried to crawl back to the tent, but never made it. The remaining 4 hikers were missing. It took 2 more months before their bodies were found, and when they were, it only made the mystery even darker. Unlike the others, these 4 bodies had serious injuries. One hiker's skull was completely crushed, like he had been hit by a sledgehammer. 2 women had multiple broken ribs, but no external wounds. One of them was missing her tongue. But here's the strangest part. Experts said the force of the injuries was as powerful as a car crash, and yet there were no signs of an attack. No animal bites, no struggle. Investigators took samples of the hikers' clothing. What they found shocked them. Some of the clothes had high levels of radiation, but where did the radiation come from? There were no nuclear plants nearby. Were they exposed to something deadly? Over the years, people have tried to explain what happened that night. Avalanche theory. Some say a small avalanche scared the hikers, making them flee in panic. But that doesn't explain the injuries, the missing tongue, or the radiation. Aliens. Some believe they were attacked by extraterrestrials. Nearby, witnesses even reported strange orange lights in the sky that night. Secret government experiments. Was the group exposed to a military weapon? Some think they were accidentally caught in a Soviet test. Wild animal attack. Others blame a bear or wolf, but none of the bodies had bite marks. Nothing fully explains what happened. And the Soviet government's response only made things weirder. After a short investigation, officials closed the case. The official cause of death? An unknown force. They sealed the files and banned anyone from visiting the area for years. It wasn't until 2019 that the Russian government reopened the case. And their final explanation, a small avalanche. But nobody believes it. Too many questions remain unanswered. The site where the hikers died is now called Dyatlov Pass, in memory of their leader. To this day, visitors claim to feel uneasy there. Hikers report strange noises at night. Some even say they've seen shadowy figures moving in the trees. The mountain has a dark reputation, and maybe it's because whatever happened in 1959 never really left. 9 hikers climbed the mountain and never came back. Was it an avalanche, a military experiment, or something we weren't meant to understand? All we know is the truth is still out there. On May 13, 2013, a 29-year-old Canadian soldier named Prabdeep Srawn set off on a solo hike in the Australian Alps. He was an experienced outdoorsman, a military reservist, a trained survivalist. He should have come back, but he didn't. And what happened next is one of the most chilling disappearances in modern history. Prabdeep had rented a camper van and parked it at a trailhead in Kosciuszko National Park. His plan: to hike Mount Kosciuszko, the highest peak in Australia. The last time anyone heard from him was when he left his van and walked into the wilderness. After that, silence, no texts, no phone calls, nothing. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. 2 days later, the rental company reported his van as abandoned. Authorities launched a massive search. Helicopters, dogs, ground teams, hundreds of people scoured the mountains. They expected to find him injured, maybe lost, but they found nothing. No footprints, no campfire, no supplies. It was like he had never been there. At first, people thought it was a simple hiking accident. Maybe he fell into a ravine. Maybe he got lost and froze overnight. But then something strange happened. Rescuers found his GPS tracker, and it showed something impossible. Prabdeep's GPS logs indicated that he had been moving for days through dense forests, across rivers, up steep cliffs. No signs of stopping. But here's the problem. There was no way a human could have traveled that far without supplies. Was someone else with him, or was something chasing him? As the search continued, another terrifying detail came to light. Prabdeep wasn't the only one. Over the years, at least 15 other hikers had gone missing in the same area. Most of them were never found. The ones who were, their bodies were discovered in places they could never have reached alone, almost as if they had been placed there. Weeks into the search, something chilling happened. A search helicopter picked up a distress signal coming from deep in the mountains. It was a voice, muffled, distorted, repeating the same words over and over. "Help me, please help me." Rescue teams rushed to the location, but when they got there, no one was there. The signal vanished. Some locals believe Prabdeep's disappearance wasn't an accident. The area is known for strange activity. People seeing lights in the sky, hearing whispers in the trees, and feeling like they're being watched. Some think he stumbled upon something he shouldn't have, something that wouldn't let him leave. Others believe the government knows more than they're saying. Why? Because after weeks of searching, officials suddenly shut down the case. They told the family there was nothing more to do. But how do you just stop looking for a missing soldier? Unless they already knew the answer. Months later, a hiker found something unsettling deep in the woods, a shredded piece of fabric caught on a tree branch. It matched the clothes Prabdeep was wearing. It was miles away from the original search area, in a place no one thought to look. Why would he have gone that far, unless he was running from something? To this day, Prabdeep Sron has never been found. No body, no evidence, just a voice calling for help, and then nothing. Was it an accident, or did he disappear into something? We can't explain. 15 hikers have gone missing in the same area. Some say it's just nature. Others believe there's something in the mountains, something that takes people. One thing is certain: Prabdeep Sron went into the forest and never came back. There's a place in India where people go missing without a trace, a place where bodies turn up years later, perfectly preserved in ice, a place where one group of hikers vanished, and what was found later only made the mystery even darker. This is the story of the Anjan Dutta expedition and the deadly secret hidden in the Himalayas. In 2009, a group of 7 hikers led by Anjan Dutta set off for a trek to Rupkund Lake, a remote frozen lake high in the Indian Himalayas. Locals feared the place. They called it the Skeleton Lake because hundreds of human bones are scattered along its shores. No one knows where they came from or how they got there. The group was experienced. They had climbed before. They were prepared. But when they reached the base camp, things started to feel wrong. One hiker said he felt watched. Another claimed to hear footsteps at night circling their tents. By day 3, something happened that would change everything. Anjan Dutta sent a message to his wife before they went out of signal range. "We're almost at the lake. It's beautiful, but I have this strange feeling." That was the last time anyone heard from them. The group never came back. After 3 weeks, a search team was sent to find them. They expected to find traces of the group, supplies, footprints, anything. Instead, they found nothing. No bodies, no tents, just silence. It was like they had never existed. Then, 4 years later, another expedition went to Rupkund Lake, and they found something disturbing: a backpack, a camera, and inside, photos from the missing group. The final pictures showed the hikers smiling at the lake, but the last photo was different. It showed the group staring at something in the distance, something big, something they didn't recognize, and then the pictures stopped. Rupkund Lake is famous for one thing: the bodies. Hundreds of skeletons scattered in the ice. Scientists originally believed they were centuries old, but when they tested the bones, they found something terrifying. Some of the bodies were only a few years old, from hikers who had gone missing recently. Just like Anjan Dutta's group, no one knows what killed them, but there are theories. Hypothesis 1. A sudden storm. Some say the group was caught in a deadly hailstorm, where massive ice balls fell from the sky, killing them instantly. Hypothesis 2. Toxic air. Others believe they inhaled poisonous gas from the mountains and became disoriented, wandering into the ice. Hypothesis 3. Something was there. Some locals believe the mountains are cursed and that the group saw something they weren't supposed to. But the real question is, why weren't their bodies found? Hundreds of skeletons were tested. Not a single one belonged to the missing hikers. If they had died there, where did their bodies go? And what happened to them after the last photo was taken? Rupkund Lake remains one of the most terrifying places in the world. A place where bodies appear and disappear, where hikers go missing forever, and maybe where something still waits in the mountains.